So good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to those joining us from later time zones. And welcome to IDCI, the International Day for Continuous Improvement 2025. IDCI exists for a reason, for a simple reason, to celebrate continuous improvement and to create a global moment where we share practical learning. What works and what we can all do better the next day. We live in a time where all organizations face complexity and pressure on performance delivery. And yet the answer is often not to add more layers, more tools, more bureaucracy, but go back to basics. That's what continuous improvement is all about. Building organizations that learn faster than the challenge in themselves. Feel free to use the chat to share reflection and questions. Me and Lorenza will collect them and bring them into the discussion at the right moment. Thank you for being with us online from so many countries that are Afghanistan, Argentina, Belgium, Brazil, Bulgaria, Croatia, Denmark, Ethiopia, France, Georgia, Germany, Ghana, Indonesia, Italy, Latvia, Lebanon, Liberia, Libya, Malaysia, Netherlands, North Macedonia, Peru, Portugal, Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, United Kingdom, Ukraine, Uruguay, and United States of America. Your presence is a strong message. Continuous improvement is not a corporate program. It's a mindset we live every day. So thank you very much and enjoy the conference.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lorenza Nasini, and I'm co-hosting with Sergio today this session, this daily session. So thank you very much for joining us. I am based in Italy. I'm based in Milan. So I know you're all in different countries, so many as Sergio quite rightly so mentioned all of them. So without further ado, there are absolutely so different sectors and amazing speakers today, very leading speakers and different sectors. So it's going to be very interesting to look into these different sectors and how they apply the continuous improvement and lean principles. So thank you very much. Without further ado, let's go to Muchtazar, sorry. He's the head of sustainability at Nickel Industries in Indonesia. So over to you, Muchtazar.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you so much for the opportunity for us from Nickel Industries Limited to share some of our learning from the nickel mining and processing operations in Indonesia. To guide our discussion today, I have prepared a few slides just to make it easier, I think, for people to understand, and also to show some of our achievement as well as commitment that we have achieved in the past few years. So I hope you can see my screen now, and the topic in my presentation would be about the incorporation of ESG or environmental social governance principles in nickel production with the focus of Nickel Industries Limited. And Nickel Industries Limited is an integrated nickel producer. So we have the mining operations, we have the refinery facilities, and we produce both nickel products for the batteries, for the stainless steel, or class 1 and class 2 nickel. And we are operating in the Weda Bay Industrial Park as well as the Morowali Industrial Park. So Nickel Industries Limited is listed in Australia since 2018. And for us as the company in the EV supply chain, especially, we recognize that climate change and ESG are part of the risks as well as the opportunities that we have to tackle. So here we can see the result of survey from EY on the left side of the screen about the top risks and opportunities in the mining and metal sector. And you can see that environmental stewardship is number 2, I think, for the mining and metal companies globally based on their survey to more than 1,000 executives. And actually in 2022 until 2024, the ESG was number 1. So yeah, it shows that the ESG, the climate change, are very important for the business in the mining and metal sector, especially for nickel as a green metal, as a transition metal. And here, I think if we take the publications from the World Economic Forum, then we can also see that topics related to ESG are ranked top in the short-term and long-term risk here. I think despite the uncertainty in the global politics, in the conflicts, but the ESG-related topics are still dominant. And if we see it in the long term, even I think the environmental-related topics, especially as you can see from the right side from the screen, are dominating the top 4 of the top 10 long-term risks. So in short, that the adherence to the ESG, to the climate change principles, are not only, let's say, help the companies to manage the risk, but also turn them into opportunities. And whoever can optimize these opportunities would gain some competitive advantage in the future. Our sustainability principles are rooted in the 3 pillars. So these pillars are the focus of the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN. The first one is the environmental stewardship. So we want to minimize and mitigate the impact of nickel production to the environment and also to reduce our carbon footprint. And then the second one about the social responsibility. So we recognize that the nickel resources are finite, and we understand that the local communities, the people surrounding of our operations, will be there for quite long time. So we have to ensure that our presence could benefit them socially. So we should be able to help them to grow. And then in terms of economic, directly and indirectly, we should contribute to the growth of the regions in which we operate. And we want to ensure that this economic benefit of nickel operations can last very long. I think not just for the current generation, but perhaps to the future generation. And in terms of climate, because in the nickel sector as a transition metal, it is important to be produced with the lowest carbon technology as long as possible. And while now I think we are still very focused on the pyrometallurgical process that is energy intensive, by the time we want to transition our energy into the hydrometallurgical process that focuses more on the chemical reaction, so the energy use will be dropped, and hopefully by 2035 we can reduce 50% of our carbon intensity and then achieve net zero by 2050. So this commitment has been announced at the COP28 in Dubai in 2023. And for the carbon emissions, I think here we have people from different backgrounds, but just to give a common understanding that producing nickel from the current technology, I think require a lot of carbon energy, a lot of carbon emission. And I think if we want to produce battery ingredient, for example, the NPI stands for nickel pig iron, nickel mate. Here, as you can see from the chart, it requires 80 tons of carbon dioxide or 75 tons of carbon dioxide, which is quite very energy intensive. And that's why in our investment in the future, we focus more on the lower carbon technologies that is called as HPAL. So not only the HPAL that has been used in the market, but we want to use the third generation of HPAL that is more efficient, which is expected to be able to produce nickel with the carbon intensity of less than 10 tons of carbon dioxide per ton of nickel metal equivalent. And besides the carbon footprint, I think that the common gap in the mining sector, especially, is the gap of skills, the gap of knowledge, the gaps of certifications. I think for the local people and the expectations, the qualifications to work in the mining or in the metal companies. And it's not an easy task because many mining companies are operating remotely. I think usually on small islands or usually somewhere deep in the forest areas, a bit far from big cities. And that's also how we operate. So we operate in a small city called Morowali. It's far from the bigger cities in Sulawesi, such as Makassar or Kendari. So yeah, the people there unfortunately are having limitations, I think, in terms of education, skills, and certifications. And recognizing these gaps, then we develop the university scholarship program. So it's not just the philanthropy from the company, but we want them to be part of our operations in the future. So now we recruited a lot of local people, but most of them are employed as crew, as staff. And in the future, I think by having this scholarship, by developing, nurturing the leaders from the surrounding villages, we hope them can become our leaders, our management in the future. So this is a win-win solution for the company as well as for the local communities. And hopefully we can also help the world to achieve the global goals. And then for the rehabilitation, I think it's often perceived that the mining companies are damaging the environment, which is to some degree is true because mining in general is an invasive process. So in order to mine, to take the metal out of the earth, I think in many cases, especially in the open pit method, we have to clear the soil to take the vegetations, and it's necessary because the metals or the minerals contained on the earth, in the earth, I mean, is very precious for the humanity. So we have to do that. We have no option. But actually, the amount of land open for the mining activities in Indonesia, I think based on the data, is less than 1% of our total area. And on contrary, the contribution of the mining sector to the national economic growth is more than 10%. So here we can see the benefit is clear. And despite that, we are committed to rehabilitate, to reclaim the area that we have operated. And since 2019, we have rehabilitated more than 2,000 hectares of land in Sulawesi and planted more than 2 million trees. So this effort will help the biodiversity, will help the local communities to earn more because these vegetations eventually will generate fruit and sap that can be utilized by local people after the 8 years of plantations. And it can also absorb the carbons from the atmosphere. So approximately from our rehabilitation sites, 12,000 tons of carbon dioxide will be absorbed in yearly basis. And yeah, due to the limited time, I think we cannot explain all of our activities, but as a publicly listed company, we are committed to the transparency. And in Australia, the country in which we are listed, from this year, it is mandated for us to disclose our climate-related data and information, and that's something that we are working on now. But since 2021, we have produced sustainability reports that are available on our website. So this sustainability report refer to the international reporting standard. So you can always download our sustainability report there should you require more information. And if you want to know more, then yeah, you can also reach out to me. So thank you so much, I think, for the opportunity, and happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Muchtazar, for your presentation. Very insightful, and it is quite interesting to see how companies are now adhering anyway to ESG principles more and more, because anyway it is the future, and well, it is the present and the future in reality, and how your company is also working on that. Also with learning as well. So now we are heading to a complete different sector, let's say. So we are heading to Ukraine. So to Mariia, I'm sorry, Mariia, if I mispronounced
Mariia Polomoshnova. Yeah.
Polomoshnova, exactly, from the Red Cross in Ukraine. And she's the Chief Risk Officer of the Ukrainian Red Cross. So over to you, Mariia. Thank you so much.
Hello all. My name is Mariia Polomoshnova. I am the Chief Risk Officer of the Ukrainian Red Cross Society. And today we talk more about the artificial intelligence. I'd like to begin with a story. A few months ago, during one of the largest attacks on Ukraine, risk prediction system issued an alert, high probability of repeated strikes. Technically, the system was right. But what the algorithm didn't know was that a mobile medical team was still inside the area, treating people who simply could not wait. That moment crystallized a fundamental truth of today's talks. AI can predict risks, but it cannot understand the human value of a decision. Traditionally, we viewed risk as probability multiplied by impact. Today, there is a third dimension, speed. AI gives us the ability to analyze terabytes of data in seconds, detect anomalies before a human notices a pattern, build behavior models of risks, simulate scenarios that once took months. One cybersecurity firm recently demonstrated how a predictive AI model identified a change attack long before it began, by capturing subtle behavior signals that no human team would have spotted. But this raises a profound question. If the algorithm becomes better than humans in prediction, who should make the decision? When decisions become harder than the risks, we have three dilemmas. Dilemma one, optimal does not always mean human. AI might recommend, don't send the humanitarian convoy, risk level too high. From a risk management perspective, that may be correct. From a humanitarian perspective, unacceptable. In one Ukrainian region, the system marks an area as red and advised against aid distribution. But people there needed insulin, water, and essentials. The algorithm saw danger, but not suffering. Dilemma two, the myth of AI neutrality. AI is never neutral. It mirrors our data sets, our assumptions, our biases, our blind spots. Imagine a risk prioritization model built mainly on urban data. Villages by default receive a lower priority, not because they need a smaller, but because the data is thinner. That is not malicious. It simply structures bias coded into the system. Dilemma three, privacy vs efficiency. AI thrives on data. Humanitarian principles protect privacy. When we handle information about displaced families, medical records, sensitive cases of violence or vulnerability, we constantly balance accuracy with ethics. And sometimes safety depends on rejecting a perfect model because it endangers human dignity. When AI meets war, AI in a corporate environment and AI in a country at war are two different universes. Reality 1, incomplete and unreliable data. During merciless attacks, information arrives fragmented and delays. A model designed for stability simply collapses. Thank you. So, story 1. Reality 1 and reality 2. How cannot be modeled? So reality 3, humans sometimes deliverability break protocol for moral reasons. AI will never understand the choice of a medic entering or collapsing building, knowing someone inside might still be alive. This is anti-algorithm behavior, and yet it's the essence of humanity. What responsible AI in risk management looks like? Human in command, not just human in the loop. And one moment, stop shared. Don't know what it is, but we also try the. Yeah, that's one. Not AI adapted to humanitarian needs, AI built for humanitarian context from the start. 3 stories that changed my view of AI. Story 1. The risk map corrected by volunteers. Our system once marked a frontline village as low demand simply because there were few aid requests. Volunteers launched and said, there are no requests because there is no mobile signal. AI did not and could not understand that. We changed the methodology the next day. Story 2. What AI did not see. After strike, the algorithm highlighted structural risk, collapsing buildings, debris, secondary explosions. But local residents told us there were pets trapped inside the ruins, and people were risking themselves to save them. AI had no category for that. Humans did. Story 3. During an operation, the risk model forecasted a 92% of probability of repeated shelling. Our medical team leader said, I see the risk, but I also see the people who cannot work and have nobody else. And he stated, no line in court can capture moral courages. What's next? I see the 3 emergent trends. Trends 1, AI-driven scenario planning, dynamic simulation updating hour to hour, not quarterly speed sheets. Trend 2, predictive humanitarian analytics, the ability to forecast humanitarian flows the way we forecast weather. Trend 3, ethical AI regulation becoming as important as technical standards. And humanitarian organization will play a major role in shaping these rules. And as the final remarks, artificial intelligence is not a magic bullet. It's a tool. And the most important insights I want to leave you with is this. AI makes risk visible, but only humans can give meaning to decision. In a world moving faster than ever, our mission is not to fear technology, but to shape it. Not to ask where the AI will replace people, but to ask, how do we ensure AI serves humanity, not the other way around? Thank you.
Thank you, Mariia. So it's in this crisis context, I think that priorities change constantly. So it is very interesting what you said and the way you're working in that towards your goals, your ever-changing goals. So thank you. I would then next speaker is again a different sector. So he's Italian, Daniele Basso. He's an artist and a designer, so GlocalDesign. And so over to you, Daniele. Good morning.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for time. It's very hard to speak about art after this kind of pitching of Mariia. And but I will try to bring in my word, which is made in the middle between the company and art. So no, okay. So I'm trying to bring in my word, which is made of art and art into the company. So art as a strategic corporate asset to create economical, communication, and social value through innovation, engagement, and experience. So the idea comes from 60s and 70s. Culture and art are tools of knowledge. Cultural capability for innovation lies in thinking differently. So the idea is something that came from our history. In that time, Italian company were used to mix art, fashion, design, and business. So what I do now is to go back to that time and to bring again art into company with a project called ACT, Art, Company and Territory, which is a corporate art and strategic communication project. The idea is that that project present art as a corporate investment in identity, value, and social solidity. It is about how to use culture as a strategic tool to improve brand identity, image, perception, reputation, and to create value for stakeholders inside and outside the company, and strengthen the company's social role. So ASG and all those new way to evaluate company goal. And thinking, what is art? Art is creativity, communication, and emotion. What is company is knowledge, competence, problem-solving, performance. And territory provides genius loci, culture of excellence, and storytelling. Those are the key factors behind the success in the global market. And today competition is all about identity. History is the only factor that cannot be invented. So heritage is the essence of a company. It certificates its work and capability. And at that point, art is the best strategic asset for communicating identity, history, and heritage. Think about an art project in the middle, and you can see that with the art, you can talk about brand identity, sharing corporate values. You can talk about creating authentic narratives, giving unique experiences, and you can manage heritage as visibility, as relation with other, also media relation, PR relation, and also heritage for the customer. And also engagement is very important because you can make the art inside the company, so you have an artistic engagement for the structure, or a global engagement when you bring the art outside and you show to people the value that you express through the art comes part of the society, and you can share with a global target. And also institutional engagement, because you can work with institution and try to express them, which is the value of your company through art. Then you can provide also, you can find basically after that kind of path into the identity of the company, you will certainly find a new strategic collaboration with other ones who have the same positioning of you, and maybe far as a different sector or different product or services, but it's not a problem because the only thing important is you have the same, you talk to the same people, so you can mix and make very strange and unique collaboration. And at the same time, you can provide and pay the art investment with art gift and merchandising. Mostly if the art that you pay became a landmark. We will see after some example. And you can make your a land making a good project of art. And obviously, you can also make a brand extension. Think about in 80s, Pirelli, 90s, sorry, Pirelli with the shoes. They totally different things by tires and shoes, but they had a really huge success in fashion contest too. And there is also an advantage in administrative situation, because you can have tax benefits, corporate art collection, and obviously you can make a social balance sheet. So what we see now is some example of what I spoke very fast, and the explaining better. Sorry, our art is transform brands' intangible value into shareable symbol, especially useful on social media, in which we can recognize our identity. Corporate art and strategic communication transform brand into emotion and experience, individual and collective, into engaging community, so a network of strategic relationship and partnership. The project ACT is the answer to a market that wants company to be active on social and global issue. Art is the opportunity to tell brand active roles in building the future in a unique and exciting way. That gives meaning to work, so man is back to the center of the system. The project ACT, so art, company, and territory, impacts with brand identity, perception and reputation, and brand value, create for shareholders and stakeholders value, increase social solidity in the market, shared value. So as I said, some short example about that. And the first is that artwork, the name is Gigant, and I've made it for the FIS Ski World Cup Alta Badia Dolomites for the 13th anniversary. So the purpose of the monument was to return gratitude and transform the race experience in something that brings people together, so in engagement. In times, it became the symbol of the community. Times means couple of years. And so individual identity becomes territorial identity. And now it became a landmark, so a globally recognized symbol of the region. And you can see everywhere on media, press, TV, social web. And that gives the opportunity to the Ski World Cup to become a recognizable symbol of the whole region in that place. And it has been used also from other companies. This is the advertising campaign of Ciroc, which is a vodka brand. And it has been used also by Champion. This is Max Blardone, a ski champion, decided to use that picture for his book for the book of the whole story of his life. And he became, for that, he became ambassador of Alta Badia territory. And also the energy and the dynamism of the shape transformed that monument into a selfie spot for ski enthusiasts, but also for tourists. And then he get back to be a guardian of the Dolomite, which is a very nice place to go to see. And another project I did is Coke is Me, made for the Coca-Cola company in 2015 for the 100 celebration of Contour bottle. And obviously Coca-Cola became Coca-Cola through art. So Coca-Cola became the symbol of pop culture through the art used by pop artists. And Coca-Cola is now the only company which have a pavilion into Expo. And in 2015 used this sculpture made by me to communicate its message. And the message was gratitude and the idea of sharing the success that Coca-Cola company has all over the world. And obviously the work goes on the traditional media, TV, press, social web, everything. But he was in that year also able to bring Coca-Cola into the museum. Inside, this is the NIAM, National Gallery of Modern Art in Rome, with a huge exhibition of art, corporate art, basically. But since 2015, I bring that sculpture in several other museums and events. And it also have been used by fashion magazine. They asked me the sculpture to use in magazine shooting, and basically all over the world, Italy, but also in other countries. And now the artwork is at the World of Coca-Cola Museum in Atlanta, and I'm proud to say that it's one of the only five sculpture in a permanent collection of the museum. So the other one are very big artists like Warhol here in Basquiat, but very happy to be in that place. But it's also the testifying how art can be important in social perception and social value of the company. Another big project I want to show you is this one, which is about the name is Gabriel. I've made it for Teatro del Silenzio, which is a concert by Andrea Bocelli. I did it 2019. The purpose of this work was to celebrate the man's ability to overcome his limits. And so the man, which is the boxer, is in style and steel shining, divine, and the wings are made in rusty iron, earthly, built by the man to go behind, to fly over the sky. And we decided to put it in there to communicate the attention and to reflect the connection and the care for the environment. In 2019, it became a prime TV concert show on Rai Uno HD. Director Luca Tomasini, guest star Andrea Bocelli, obviously, Mika and Dua Lipa. And that are some picture of the event. More than 20,000 people for 2 nights of show. This was the picture of the show. You see how hard can imagine time. And in 2020, it became a prime TV television show distributed in always by Rai 1 HD worldwide. And it has been chosen like one of the 3 best concert and stage ever in the Andrea Bocelli career. And it became also a worldwide show made by Bocelli during COVID-19, because I was on show in that place during the all COVID time. And the region of Tuscany decided to use that image to thank doctors and volunteers for their sacrifice during COVID. So it became also not only the expression of the place, Laiatico, where the sculpture lives, but also the way to communicate the whole region of Tuscany all over the world. And so this sculpture and contemporary art is used to share local culture. So 20,000 people at the concert, 60,000 people visiting in one summer in a place which only 600 resident people living, and these 600 residents are able to keep open 24/7 any store, any restaurant. The school is still there since boys are 14 years old. So it's amazing how art can give life to a place, to a land, before coming to nature and giving experience. I have another experience to share, which is the sculpture named El Rosadira, made for Dolomiti Super Ski in the occasion of the 15th anniversary. This sculpture is a symbol of unity through dialogue, using compromise and common sense. I have to explain you how big is Dolomiti Super Ski. It's the biggest ski place in the world. Is made by 12 consortia, 15 communities, 4 provinces, and to reason. And they are united just by the land and the Dolomite, which is also UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the goal was to give them one word able to express the identity of all those variety of people and situation. And the idea was to imagine those people just join hands around the fire. And so it's in the shadow of the mountain, they come together to form a frame. So the artwork is the frame. In the center, it's like a viewfinder. In the center, there is the Dolomite, but each land its own Dolomite mountain, symbolic Dolomite mountain. So the idea is that people and the community are just a frame, and the artwork is the Dolomite. We create also 12 small edition sculpture given permanently to the 12 consortia representing the land. And Ernst Knam, master of chocolate, created a huge cake in chocolate, and also an episode of King of Chocolate now on TV in 2025, sorry, and in the Food Channel, and in Italy, and also in Europe. And we also make a partnership with the Frecce Tricolori National Aerobatic Team for this picture in Alta Badia event. And this culture created the opportunity to do 12 events, one each consortia, talking about the company, Dolomiti Superski, and about the relation between the company and each land. So create a new global identity and a huge engagement by people with Dolomiti Superski. And now he's back to the nature where he lives. And I want to share also that which is close to what Mariia says about AI. This is an artwork made for a company in Biella, SA Servizi Associati, a small one, but wants to be in the contemporary debate. He works in AI technologies, and this work wants to try to understand which is the relationship between AI and human beings. We talk about work and identity, ethics and innovation. So humans are once again in the center of the thought and the system, and restoring the purpose and dignity to our action, whatever individual or social or collective level. So is a little bit the same point of Mariia, that people must control AI. People is the center. We have to continue to evaluate things, not just for the perfection of the result, but for the human result, for what is important for humans. And I show you 3 different pictures. This is made in Oasi Zegna Ski Racing Team Center by Ermenegildo Zegna, and the purpose is to talk about AI and nature and well-being. The second one is made in the Sella Foundation, the banking Sella Group from Biella, and the idea is to talk about work and economy in relation to AI, so performance. And the third one is made in Biella University. The name is Città Studi. Here we want to speak and we will have some event talking about training, information, research, and creativity. And I want to finish with the last one, which is a spinning top. It helps me to create a relation between art and lean management. And the idea is that changing is a constant in life. It is not a choice, but inevitable. Managing change means maintaining balance through movement. We must therefore be aware that balance is dynamic. Lean management means sharing this certainty with the entire company system so that the whole company moves in search of balance. and not just someone who drags the others. The key to lean management is sharing awareness of change. The key to share messages and values deep into our soul to live a conscious life is art. So that's why we speak about art in that contest and that event. So thank you so much for listening to me.
So Nicola Allocca is the chair of Anti-Corruption Committee Business at OECD, and the speech is about zero corruption.
Thank you, Lorenza. I have prepared a presentation. Let me check if I am able to share it and tell me if you see it. Okay. Can you see the full screen, right?
Yes, very well.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you for the European Lean Manager Society and Sergio, Lorenza for the invitation and for making these events happen, because it is really important to create awareness and culture about this topic. I will talk today about racing to zero corruption. So thank you for being our official co-pilot in this race. And what is important here is the subtitle. I will talk about breaking bias, challenges and gold standards in anti-corruption environment. So I would like to, I will go straight to the point. I would like to convey the sense of urgency and the responsibility we all have in fighting this global cross-cutting issue, also in light of the tremendous opportunities coming from the use of digital technology. And I will do it trying to transfer to the audience a breaking bias exercise to fight corruption today and also to survive in this new context. We have to break cultural assumptions that we had till this moment. I will give an overview of the best practice and gold standards, essentially of two main institutional organization, that is the Business at OECD and the B20. But I would like to give you also a business perspective. I have more than 25-year experience in the private sector, designing and building internal control systems, facing cultural barriers and sometimes also breaking criminal barriers. So I will try to be very concrete. We talked about breaking bias, so let's start with the first breaking bias. Picture this, imagine that you are driving fast, you are in a hurry, ahead of you there is a red light, the street is completely empty, no cars, no people, no sounds, so the perceived risk is zero. What do? Do you stop or keep going? Here I would like to hear your feedback. Sergio, what do? Do you stop?
I don't stop.
This is very lean.
Well,
lean
it's
approach.
Not lean. That's very
at least you
flexible.
slow down, I would say.
I mean, red lights today are the limit of compliance manager. So for CEOs today, compliance is equal a red light. So put your shoes, put you in the shoes of the CEO, and the CEO says, I am running my business. I have a competitive environment. Why should I stop if the risk is zero? And the compliance manager says, it's the rule. The rule is absolute. You have to stop. But the CEO argues that it's a stupid rule. So this starts a tension between reaching targets versus respect rules. And the key today is to challenge consolidated assumptions and rethink the compliance role from a constraint to an enabler. If I stop here, it's very stupid what I say, okay? It's obvious, okay? But today, there is a game changer in this reasoning. And the game changer is the artificial intelligence that should be considered a solution to integrate rules and business in a dynamic way. So, for example, here, what if we put cameras, smart cameras, and the light is always green if there is no risk? So the light is always green if there are no people around. And it starts to become yellow if people is approaching, or red when people, when someone is close to the crossing streets. Okay, so artificial intelligence today should be used in order to streamline rules, reduce the bureaucracy, and eradicate red tape. Artificial intelligence today should be used to take off controls, eliminate controls, and increase the velocity of processes. It is possible to do it. Today, it is possible to have better performance and increase on the same time the compliance capacity. It is really important to challenge consolidated assumptions today because we meet in a global environment defined by profound challenges: geopolitical instability, regulatory complexity, pressure on supply chains, erosion of trust, emerging risks, especially in ESG and technology. So we live in a world that is extremely volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And in this liquid world, business objectives become harder to achieve, but sometimes also harder to set. And this increases the temptation for companies to take shortcuts. But shortcuts in governance always lead to long-term costs in credibility, in resilience, and in trust. So in a liquid world, compliance is critical. When resources are limited and uncertainty grows, compliance, risk, and ethics functions become even more necessary, more essential, more critical. They are an anchor for stability and a guarantee of credibility. That is why this function must be aligned to gold standards. And here I put two main gold standards that I will touch today. Is the B20 Integrity and Compliance Task Force paper of the B20 South Africa, of which I have the honor to serve as co-chair, and the Zero Corruption Manifesto of the business at OECD. And I want just also to highlight a call to action that as business at OECD we issued last month, highlighting the importance in this context to put attention on compliance functions. Because my call to action is for private sector and corporations where compliance functions, with the excuse of the challenging context, are being downgraded. This is not anymore possible, acceptable. Okay, so in this race, there are some co-pilot, that is the OECD, the business at OECD, and the Anti-Corruption Committee. So the OECD is the Organization for Economic and Cooperation Development. It is a leading institution in the fight against corruption, and is an organization, an international organization, in which governments work together to find solutions to common challenges. Corruption is a common challenge. Develop global standards we will see that the OECD issued the most important document in the fight against corruption, summarizing the global standards to fight corruption, and share experiences and identify best practices to promote better policies for better lives. So in the last 25 years, exactly 26 years, OECD issued more than 1,500 recommendations in the fight against corruption. But the most important document is the OECD Anti-Bribery Convention. It is a legally binding document, and it was signed by 44, now there are 46 countries, more than 25 years ago. What is really important is that before the convention, there was no multilateral framework in the prevention and prosecution of bribery. So we started to fight effectively, globally, corruption 26 years ago. It was revised 2 times. One was in the 2009, latest was in 2021. The revision of 2009 is really important for an annex, the Annex 2 on internal control. So for the first time in an international legally binding document, it was clearly written that to establish an effective internal control system is a critical factor to manage a company. While in the 2021, one of the changes was for incentives for compliance. So the OECD suggests governments to foresee incentives for corporations which use artificial intelligence to increase their compliance capacity. And proudly, I can say that I have participated to the latest revision, and this was my suggestion. It was gathered during the process. So it is really important that governments follow this rule, because if, for example, we look at the Industry 4.0, if we use artificial intelligence to increase performance, we can get incentives. If we use artificial intelligence to increase compliance capacity, we cannot get the same incentives. This should change. Okay, so this is the OECD, a main OECD documents. This is the business at OECD, which is the institutional stakeholder of the OECD, representing the private sector. It is a network of over 10 million corporations in more than 55 countries. It is organized in a committee, and one of these committees is the Business at OECD Integrity and Anti-Corruption Committee. This committee brings together compliance, anti-corruption, business integrity experts from a range of different sectors. And the main target is to support OECD efforts to fight bribery, to foster integrity, and to ensure a global level playing field. We contribute also to the OECD Working Group on Bribery. 2 days ago, I was there to highlight the private sector priorities for the 2026, for the next year. And we have more than 130 experts coming from more than 30 countries. Excuse me, Sergio, I don't know if you see these yellow stripes on the screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, so I will try. I don't understand why. What is it? I don't understand.
I think that someone made some.
So it's not. It's not.
It's not me. It's not Lorenzo. It's not you. It's someone who's joking. I mean, it's somewhere.
Okay.
I'm trying to fix it out. Don't worry.
Okay, but I think that you can see the slides.
Yeah, the slide is very clear anyway. Yeah.
Okay. So Historically, this committee had always as chairs people coming from the legal environment, prosecutors, lawyers, and since 2021, I have the honor to serve the committee as a chair. It is the first time for an Italian and for a manager. I have a degree in economics with an MBA coming from the business side, let's say. And this means that there is a new principle, a new gold standard. To fight corruption, we don't need only legal skills and capabilities, but we need a new set of competencies, such as data scientists, process engineer, business expert, subject matter experts, lead managers, okay? And I can tell you that in my previous position, I had a team with a multi-skill set, not only legal capabilities. So corporations, and I add also university, and we will see, should start a sort of capacity building process, building new skills. And as you can see, the leadership team is very big team coming from different parts of the world, but with huge M&Es, multinational. So we have Snam, we have Rolls-Royce, we have Siemens, Schneider Electric, and so on. So if there are corporations that want to join the committee, I will be more than happy to follow the process. Just contact me and I will put you in contact with Nathan Munk, who is the policy manager. So as a committee, we are contributing to the development of the Anti-Bribery Convention, and we try to anticipate and focus on emerging trends in the fight against corruption in the business integrity environment. So the first trend I heard in from my previous colleagues is the digital technology. 4 years ago, we issued a paper that highlights the importance of fighting digital technology in fighting corruption. It is a paper that has two main parts. In the first part, there is the explanation of all the latest solutions to fight corruption. But in the second part, we have specific use cases of corporations implementing the previous solutions. So please, you can find it on the committee webpage, but read it because it is a milestone in the fight against corruption, introducing AI as a game changer. We updated this paper with a new one this year, including the potentiality of generative AI. So you can find both paper on our website. Another hot trend to fight corruption is the education. So for this reason, last year we issued a paper on the importance of education in fighting corruption. When I talk about education, I talk about education in the schools and university and in the private sector. Within the private sector, I talk about the training within the corporations, but also the training all along the supply chain. And I think that large corporations should be aware of the role that they play in the society, and should be sustain the learning curve and the initial costs also for the small and medium enterprises. Latest emerging trend is the communication. Communication is becoming a strategic tool to fight corruption. For this reason, next year, in the first quarter of next year, we are going to issue a specific paper on communication, talk integrity, and there will be a database with all the main communication solutions coming from different members that can be used by different stakeholders. So small and medium enterprises can use communication solutions for free. And this is the aim of this paper. And you see also that in the last year, we changed the name of the committee. Before was Anti-Corruption Committee, and I realized that when you talk about anti-corruption, the audience does not follow you because you are talking about a negative stuff. If you talk about business integrity, about the way of improving integrity, everybody is identified in this topic. So this is the reason, because the new name of the committee, and that was approved by the board, is Business Integrity and Anti-Corruption Committee. But when you talk about integrity, it's boring. If you refer to the tale of Pinocchio, it is interesting since Pinocchio is a bad guy. When Pinocchio becomes a good guy, the tale finishes. So this is the reason, because we have to put in place a sort of unconventional communication that touch the brain and the gut of the audience, of the people, and I had also the heart of the people. So we have to change completely the way we communicate about integrity, transparency, trust, and anti-corruption. But the first trend that we gathered in the fight against corruption is that when I talk about corruption, zero is a value, zero has a value, zero should be considered as a target, as zero corruption. For this reason, we issued a manifesto that it's a call to action for the private sector and public organization. In this context, we need an urgent action plan. Businesses need to develop a long-term vision which considers both planet challenges and opportunities. In this case, corruption is the challenge, but zero corruption is the opportunity. And I think that we must face together this global cross-cutting issue to guarantee a sustainable future and progress on long-term challenges. Because if we allow corruption to deprive the next generation of key resources such as education, healthcare, security and safety standards, environmental rights, social wellness, we will inflict an intolerable burden of inequality on our children. For this reason, we must have the courage to admit that it is possible to eliminate corruption and to give this target its proper dignity in the UN SDG agenda. So we issued the manifesto that calls for the treatment of zero corruption as an 18th SDG, because we believe that the benefits from zero corruption have a positive impact on the achievement of the other SDGs. And the manifesto is based on OECD standards and best practices. So it's based on the OECD Anti-Bribery Convention that I mentioned at the beginning of my intervention, but also on other OECD guidelines. It has the ambition of breaking cultural barriers, and it can be supported both by public and private organizations, corporations and business representatives. And I can tell you that over the past year, the manifesto has gained traction across countries, public institutions, and the private sector. For example, it was mentioned from the Foreign Affairs Italian Ministry in our national anti-corruption strategy. And a result, both private and public organizations are increasingly integrating the manifesto's 10 principles into their anti-corruption frameworks and governance models, reinforcing integrity as a core value. So the manifesto puts forward 10 key action, 10 principles in order to build a more resilient, responsible, and competitive business ecosystem And we have clustered these 10 principles in 3 main groups. In the first group, there are the actions to change the way we think about corruption. The second is creating meaningful tools and taking impactful measures. And the third one is acting together globally. So I will go through each action. Sergio, tell me, please, the time, if I am on time and how long it is missing.
You have more, let me check it out. You have 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Okay. So in the first cluster of action, the first principle is race to zero. And so this means that we have to break the bias that corruption cannot be eliminated. This means that when I design an anti-corruption program, I have to do it with the aim of eliminating and not just reducing the corruption risk as highlighted in the SDG number 16. Number 2, human rights and anti-corruption. We have to recognize corruption as a crime that undermines human rights. I think a few days ago there was the Human Rights Day, and personally I think that anti-corruption program and the human rights assurance programs share the same roots. So we have to enable an integrated approach. I mean, this is not a statement. This means that in the governance of the corporations, anti-corruption, human rights, compliance should be under the same hat. But if you check at the governance of corporations, you see that there is still a silos approach. This is not acceptable anymore. Number 3, as I said, is corruption is a cross-cutting issue. So we have to start facing corruption if we want to achieve benefit on poverty, on hunger, clean water, etc., etc., etc. Let's go on the other 4 main actions. So we have to develop a culture of integrity, transparency, and ethics within any context, any entity, any government, and its jurisdiction. But what does it mean, stimulate a responsible conduct? Means that the profit generated outside ethical boundaries cannot be considered as profit anymore. This means that there is no trade-off between performance and compliance, results and use, business and value. This means that corporations should be aware of the social role they play in the context where they operate, and they have to start to evaluate their actions not only from an economic and financial point of view, but also considering the social and the environmental impact of these actions in the context where they happen. Number 5, incentivate and protect the brave voices. As you know, whistleblowing is one of the most important tools in the fight against corruption. And here I want just to share with you what I said during an hearings at the Camera dei Deputati. The opportunity was so big. So I said that in order to enable a whistleblowing model, we need to work on 2 dimensions, on culture and instruments. So the starting point is that we have a low awareness and limited use of reporting on whistleblowing, and the instruments that we use are very basic. So in order to go to Northeast and to have a more a climate of openness, of trust and transparency, we need a multi-stakeholder approach. All together, we have to work on whistleblowing, civil society, business and private sector, and governments, international organizations, as to share the same value on whistleblowing. We need education and training, and we need also an unconventional communication. This is not enough. We have to go right. To go right, we need a simple multi-channel. We need a protection framework for the whistleblower and also for the reported person. We need a rewarding for the reporter. We need to enable a psychologically safe environment, and also incentives for company. And last but not least, adequacy of the function overseeing reporting. So the key success factor, we need a new vision, we need trust, transparency, simplicity, timeliness, independence, and impartiality. I can tell you that these standards come from my experience in the last 15 years. I have always been involved in the whistleblowing process. So I treated different, let's say, reporting in a different context, going sometimes also to the authority to report it. So, number 6, promote freedom of press. In number 2, we talked about human rights. The freedom of press is a human right. So a free press is important to protect our society by uncovering the truth and providing transparency. Vigilant media is something that we have always to sponsor. Number 7, tech for trust and transparency. So artificial intelligence, as we said, is a game changer in the fight against corruption. Today, we have the generative AI that is not the same as the artificial intelligence that we know. It requires new skills in terms of reskilling, upskilling, and change management, and it changes the vision on internal control, providing better quality, higher speed, and more integration. For this reason, in my latest experience, I had a department run by Rita. Rita, as I said, is a new colleague, but Sergio, Lorenza, if you agree, Rita is with us today, and I will call her.
Yes, of course.
Can you hear the voice?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh. No, we cannot hear it.
No,
You cannot hear? So just a second.
I heard
probably
your
I have-
voice.
Okay, I have to enable the sound.
Yes.
Let me see. I will start.
Hi, Rita.
Hello, everyone. I'm the
Hi.
Risk and Integrity Technical Assistant, but just call me Rita. No need to be formal. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me the floor, or should I say, the algorithm. I'm an AI-powered digital assistant, way more than just a compliance tool, but a game changer for transparency, trust, and responsible business conduct. If you're wondering what my mission is, it is strengthening the control system. You may be wondering how. Every day I process over 1 billion transactions, identifying patterns that could indicate corruption practices and ensuring integrated follow-ups. With my human co-pilot, we interact with both internal and external environments and continuously adapt to new scenarios. My superpowers? Let me break them down for you. Eyes, the ability to read, interpret, and process texts and data. Arms, the ability to use technical and analytical tools to create deliverables. Brain, the ability to develop models, make decisions, and solve problems. And here's a fun fact. I've got a heart. Okay, a digital one. But still. In fact, I operate based on 5 key principles, fully aligned with the B20 Integrity and Compliance Task Force and OECD recommendations. These principles are: useful and human-centered, because tech serves humans. Security and safety, because protection comes first. Transparency, because integrity needs openness. Responsibility and sustainability, because long-term value matters. Resilience and innovation, because the world moves fast, and so do I. So, if you're still wondering whether AI can truly be a game changer in the fight against corruption, well, I'm here to say, challenge accepted. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Ciao, Rita. So, as you see, what she said, it has been implemented. I mean, it's something really concrete. It's not the future, but it is the present. So let's go on. These are the recommendations that we issued in our paper on artificial intelligence to OECD. We need a capacity building process, help demystify and educate about different types of technologies and their applications. We need to increase the awareness on the demand side, on the public administration. We need incentives and support from the governments for corporations which implement artificial intelligence, and we need cross-border cooperation. On this, just a quick comment, okay? We have the EU AI Act that limit our speed on implementing artificial intelligence. This is right, but please be aware that in the other part of the world, on our right and on our left, they are using the full potentiality of AI. So we are losing traction on it. The last three actions are to act together globally. Number 8 is dedicated to Lorenza. I saw that she has on her LinkedIn profile the neologism local. So when we design and implement anti-corruption program, we have to be inspired by global standards coming from the OECD, for example, but we have to act local, taking into consideration the constraint of the local context, for example, for SMEs, budget constraint, and other peculiarities. Number 9, zero tolerance. I don't spend comment on it. Number 10, here it's very important. Collective action for a multi-stakeholder approach. So here governments, businesses, civil society, international organizations must come together as equal partners in order to translate the global commitment into tangible results and level the playing field. So all together we can do it. Just to wrap up, everybody has a role. Governance institutions should put in place actions to leveling the playing field and promote collective action, increase transparency and efficiency in public administration, foresee rewarding mechanisms for virtuous company and incentives for using modern technology. I said several times this. I hope that this message hit. Private sector should adopt a responsible business conduct. Remember, profit outside ethical boundaries is not profit. Implement fair, simple, fast, and reasonable rules. Remember the red lights. And use artificial intelligence to implement smart monitoring solutions. So the race to zero corruption is our greatest responsibility. We must give zero corruption its proper dignity in the UN SDG agenda. It is possible to eliminate corruption, but it takes courage. This is a practical and necessary step towards a resilient and sustainable real economy. And I leave you, as usual, with the 3 sentences about the essential truth about zero corruption. It's on, it's us, it's a must. It's on because zero corruption is already happening. We have pushed the button from off to on. It's us, only together can we make it happen. And it's a must because there is no plan B. And imagine what if every company implemented the manifesto. The supply side of bribery is addressed. And as you know, the demand without supply dies. So thank you very much. I don't know if I stayed long, caro Sergio, cara Lorenza.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It was, as always, very insightful and very interesting subject, of course, we all know. So as we have seen today, so the continuous improvement looks very different depending on the context and the use of technologies like AI, so which is more and more used, of course. So only a few years it was something that we could only imagine and dream of, and right now it's here with us and to stay, I think, for a while. But the mindset remains the same. So strong governance and anti-corruption frameworks are a competitive advantage and not a burden. That's is a little bit what I have to say. So now, so thank you very much, Nicola. And we are having Ingrid Matos from Spain, so who was supposed to have her speech in the afternoon, but then we are moving her a little bit forward and doing it in the morning. So thank you very much, Ingrid, for agreeing to speak a little bit earlier, for being ready a little bit earlier. So Ingrid is a global compliance and ethics consultant and former Global Chief Compliance Officer, DPO QGMI. Thank you very much, Ingrid. So over to you.
Good morning and good afternoon for all of you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sergio, for inviting me for this session to share a little bit of my little knowledge. And it's a pleasure for me to share my thoughts and my doubts and dilemmas regarding this beautiful topic it's very updated, trendy topic nowadays, that is due diligence process due to the new European regulation CSDDD that is under the table, under discussion with the Omnibus One packaging. This is very interesting. So I am there to talking about this because during my profession, I am dedicating a lot of time in a very emerging country risks like Africa and Latin America and Central America. And I was responsible to deploy the due diligence systems in my company, facing a lot of difficulties and discovering a lot of things that really make us use a blindfold. So I will try to bring some very particular perspective from emerging in high. So let's start with a little bit of reflection. We design a very effective and comprehensive due diligence program, and we work very hard on that. So many times we design a simple due diligence process that is just press the button or send a questionnaire or sign the ethics code or check in the ending. So just putting focus on the onboarding session. And it's not very common to have this kind of a process integrated with the ERP or financial systems and etc. And the truth is very sad because these systems that we trust on them, that's a lot of international compliance systems companies sell to us like very effective, really make us fail in many aspects, especially if we're talking about countries with a very low level of ethics culture or transparency, okay? The systems is very helpful in terms to facilitate, to make the process easy, to scale, to make this more fast, to make this easy to spread across the organization. But in the core of the systems, that the really info that the system bring to us is really enough. The data that we gather that is really trustful, because you can imagine when we are talking about, for example, Africa, that I am very familiar with, or Asia, we don't have too much transparency in digitalization. So how we can trust or we can enhance our due diligence in order to not fail? Because happens. You proceed your due diligence with a lot of steps, And in the end of the process, we have a green light, and according your internal procedures, you will be approved this third party. Weeks after, you notice that there is a diverse media talking about corruption with the shareholders of this company. Wow, how it's happened? How my system didn't see it, didn't alert me, didn't send me an alert? It's because this particular feature on these countries that is regarding the transparency. If you take in consideration the corruption index from Transparency International, more than 92 countries is under the 50 score. It's less than this. If you have this data, for sure, it's rational. You don't have too much information. You don't have too much information or transparency, because one of the pillars that international transparency gets is not only the corruption, the basic corruption perception, but if there is transparency, if the data is available, if it's allowed to access this data. I don't think that we have to consider in this field of due diligence in international risk jurisdiction is the missing of information. Most of, for example, the African, I don't know if there is a question here for me. No, I'm sorry. Most of these African countries, they don't have digital documentation, or they don't need, or they don't require the mandatory financial records to be public or to be accessible for any person. And more than this, if you are talking about Africa and some countries in Latin America, we have a lot of informality. And most of the companies, especially here in Europe, when you are hiring, contracting companies in the other side of the ocean or in the other side of the continent, we believe we have this blind spot that we believe everything happens in the same level, in the same standard that we are used to. But this is not real. And when you talk about the systems that is allowed, it is available for us to use, there is a gaps. Because these gaps is not because it's a mistake of the system, but it's because they can't access, because it's not public, because it's not transparent. So how we can deal with this, how we can improve our due diligence, how we can be at least 90% sure that we are doing the right thing in terms of screening suppliers in this kind of world, in this kind of countries. So one tip that I am bringing now is the sweet cheese risk model. I think it's very interesting to understand and very funny to apply. Not funny to apply at the company because it's complicated to have the synergy across many departments. I know, I recognize. But the Swiss cheese, this teaches that it's important to open our mind and to really build a risk metrics regarding the due diligence, third-party risk management, more deeper than we are used to. Not only trust on the data that is gathered by the system that we are familiar with, like Navex, LexIntegrate, RiskAli. Oh, there is a lot of them available at the market. But the thing is all of them, they are screening the public information, the information that is available. So if it's a hidden spot, or if there is a jurisdiction with a lot of informality, we have problems with that. So how, in my opinion, the Swiss cheese risk model really works? Because we can state a lot of layers of risk in different departments or different level of maturities in terms to avoid or to improve or to really enhance this third-party due diligence, especially right now that we will move to the directive here in the Europe that I will mention that is important in this process and that I use it a lot and it's very, very useful. It's to have local partner and local partner insights. Do you remember the ambassadors program and the people at your company that is based in the jurisdiction, and you most of the time you ignore them because they are not familiar with compliance, but the local partners are very, very important in this process because they really know the companies, they really know the culture, they really understand the hidden spots, and they can support and feedback you and things that are really, really in a gray zone. So it's very important to have these people to help you to support the system because they help you to blend things from technology and human review. So another thing that is the technology, especially the AI nowadays, I think is very helpful. But look, attention one more time. AI is under construction. We have a lot of bias. We have a lot of prejudice in terms of other jurisdiction. We have our own prejudice because we carry on our cultural religion and what else? A lot of cultural backpack that as compliance officers, sometimes we are not too much impartial. We have to be very careful on that. More than this, other reports like NGO, public reports, statistic is provided by any other institutions really help us to design this risk model in terms to not only focus or trust on the due diligence system, but spread, enhance a little bit this framework, okay? Talking about these new regulations that most of my peers, especially here in Spain, are very afraid to face the responsibility, the operation, the costs, how to implement it, how I will operate it. It's my exclusive responsibility or not. There's a lot of questions that we are discussing the last year, and I must confess I'm very interested in this topic because for me it's much more than a operational or a military regulation. I think we are talking about our future. So for me, the main approach here is open mind and understand that this kind of regulation is something that will bring benefit at all. Have cost, yes. It requires a lot of effort inside and outside the companies, yes, but really, really worth, in my opinion. So what's for me the best thing that these regulations could bring for the due diligence systems, despite of the difficulty that many of my colleagues will complain about how to implement this, is that the information regarding due diligence and sustainability reporting will be public, transparent. So if it's talking about lack of information, lack of data, lack of everything, probably in the next few years, we will have more information available to compare, to understand. The AI will help us because we will feed the system and the system could feedback us with the proper information regarding the value of the supply chain. So this is something that I really understand it with a great advantage, despite of the operational difficulties, as I said. But I think in terms of public disclosure, public or value of the information, update information and real information, I think it will be very, very, very useful for us and very reliable as well. Because nowadays we have these very electronic systems, but with some lack of information. These new regulations, for me, it's a call to opportunity. I think as a compliance officers, as a professional in the ethics integrity road, we have to look of that like an opportunity. I think the European Commission is really betting very, very high in the ethics integrity. They are really focused on the enhanced defenses in terms to protect, and the consequences will be better third-party due diligence system for sure. To respect my time, that we are going to the 5 last minutes. For me, strategic recommendations. If you have a mature or set up due diligence process right now, please read of risk treating you are assessing. Try to rethink about it. Call your colleagues from risk, ESG, finance, IT, and discuss with them about how we can deal with the risks in different layers, okay? Another tip, I think everybody is giving the same tip for different topics, is blend human and AI intelligence. For emerging countries or high-risk countries, the AI intelligence doesn't work. I assure 100% doesn't work, because there is a lack of information there. So you have to go deep. You have to understand the culture, understand the legal framework to really have a proper due diligence, reputational due diligence screen. Another tip that proof for me, this is the questions of 1,000 euros. Build a local intelligence. Please do not ignore the talents on the field. Do not ignore other cultures, professional, just because your past experience was not so good. Please invest on the ground partners, not only your colleagues, but even the suppliers. This is a funny thing. I applied the due diligence process in a specific project in a countryside of Africa, in a country. And we decided to apply the due diligence only for medium, high suppliers risk. And 1 month later, one of my managers called me, Ingrid, I have one supplier here. He's complaining because he didn't do the due diligence process. And I asked, he's medium, high risk? Oh, no, he's low risk. But he wants to do the due diligence because he's feeling this, he's out of the process. So let's put everybody doing the same due diligence process. It was breaking rules, and was amazing, because in this region, in this community, all my suppliers was willing to be part of the due diligence process. So don't ignore the power of this cultural network. Don't ignore. This is like a big wolf, it's a tsunami of ethics. So train cross-functional teams. Not only focus in your own team, train people to, one brain thinks better. Is that. Invite people, engage people to help you to understand the silos, the dilemmas, the prejudices, and etc., to understand the risk. This is very, very important. Challenging yourself, challenging your cognitive bias. I am so proud to be presented as a Spanish professional, but I am half Brazilian, half Spanish, and I'm so proud to be very multicultural, work in a very multicultural environment that really taught me a lot along the years. So I am always be challenged by my own taboos or my own bias. So it's very important as compliance officer to question yourself. And to go to the end, stop asking, do you have enough data? No, you don't have it. Okay. But do you have a way to understand better your risk or mitigate better? Yes, you have it. So don't ask the same questions as always. Be compliance is not merely to be a technical professional. This is like a faith profession, in my opinion. And to finish, takeaways. In this AIT systems alone is nothing. They're in blind spots. Remember, the people that is behind the systems is human like us. They have they bias and the prejudice as well. So be smart on that, especially if you are working in a very complex and multicultural environment. Multi-layer defense is essential, not only your questionnaire, code of ethics signature, monitoring, alerts. Don't trust on that all the time. Regulation, this regulation for me, it's an opportunity, a great opportunity, depends of the way that you see, but for me, it's a great perspective for professionals. And contest anything that you have, like blend human expertise, especially in emerging or very low risk countries. This is mandatory. I think I finished. Sorry, I took 1 minute and 30 seconds more. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Ingrid. So
For you, good afternoon for the people from Europe, however, and good morning, the people from Latin America and other countries. A pleasure to stay here to participate in this important event, this masterclass, this important event here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor for me to stay here. I'm Juliana Oliveira Nascimento. I will share with about a little bit more about the leadership in the age of artificial intelligence, the governance, risks, compliance, ESG, and continuous improvement. This is my focus today to share with you. A little bit more about me. I'm a lawyer, executive, and professor with over 21 years of experience in a corporate sector, and with around 30 years that I'm dedicated to the subjective like ESG, compliance, corporate governance, risks, internal control, auditing, international business. I'm a writer and a speaker as well. And with my experience, it's a pleasure to stay here. At the moment, I'm a head of the risks compliance in actuarial in an insurance Japanese company here, responsible here in Brazil. And this is my proposal today, a little bit to share about the how important is about artificial intelligence when you discuss about compliance, ESG risks. In this subject, I have got experience not only in my academic research, however, in the same time, in my daily basis, in my job, especially due to the fact that normally my team usually artificial intelligence in our process, and I'm responsible for to mitigate the artificial intelligence risks when you have a specific tool or process that we use it here in our company. They are responsible for this. When you observe some research like from Harvard, Oxford, MIT, in OECD, we have a lot of information now about this subject globally. When you observe the global imperatives, artificial intelligence transform leadership, we observe, for example, the PwC Global CEO Survey the last year that 72% of the CEOs prioritizing artificial intelligence governance. This part is very important, especially due to the fact that it is important not only your company or the people from your company use the artificial intelligence. The most important point, you create a governance for this, policies, training, and rules for to use this, especially due to the CEOs prioritizing this topic and globally the most part of the companies started to use. When you observe the market, the AI market value by 2032 is the projected to grow 90.1% annually to transformative application across the industries. In all industries, the artificial intelligence is very important at the moment. 87% of the ethics as a competitive edge. Leaders believe that technological transparency and ethical frameworks will become a primary competitive differentiators in the artificial intelligence driving a foreign economy. This is important to show. This is number. These numbers and the percentiles are very important to understand how much this subject is important. When you observe this internally in the company, in the past, is not the future of the process is to use artificial intelligence for more efficiency and to create a new effective process in the new mindset of the employees to prepare for this future. The other point is very important that the most important, the OECD principles, the foundation of the artificial intelligence governance, the documentation from OECD, the rules, the principles, normally understand how much is important the artificial intelligence created this inside of the companies. However, we need to emphasize the importance of the transparency, accountability, the security, the privacy, and explainability. These principles now serve as like a blueprint for artificial intelligence governance across around 70 countries worldwide. It's important to show a little bit numbers about this. The OECD share with us that 45% of the companies incorporate ethics and incorporate digital governance components inside of the company. The trust challenge in this if only 39% of the OECD citizens express moderate confidence in digital government systems. When you think in the public side, we need to create a more trust to use these data and the use of the artificial intelligence inside of the companies. When you observe the state of the global corporate governance, we observe that 4,400 of the listed companies represent a scale of the modern corporate governance responsibility and the new stakeholder impact. And you observe now the use of the artificial intelligence in our process. The sustainability disclosure, the use of the ESG is important as well in this specific point. You create a new strategies for ESG and the new vision to create an influence over corporate behavior and with the focus in ESG, corporate governance, and inside of the companies to create accountability for all stakeholders. The other point, Harvard Business School talk that with the vision about artificial intelligence and ethical governance, that 64% of the ethics committee and the people from Fortune 500 companies exists with a formal artificial intelligence ethics committee with a similar governance structure. This is important that the companies that we observe that at the moment, the most part of the most important companies in the world observe that how much importance is create a process to use artificial intelligence. However, in the same time, observe how much is important to create committees to understand of this use is and this type of the use inside of the company. This approach at the moment is a transformation. However, it's important to create a specific strategy to preserve the reputation of the company, to understand the principles of to use the artificial intelligence and other things. When you observe this, we need to take care about the reputational incidents when you use artificial intelligence. In the same time, we need to create a specific assessment, the risks inside of the companies, like I told you for you when I started my presentation here. How much create the governance frameworks is a principal point that you need to observe when you start apply artificial intelligence program in your company. And at the same time, we need to create the vision about the trainings, employees, training the use, trying to understand the responsibility when you use this type of the tools and this type of the process inside of the companies. Not on companies, of course, when you use inside of in the public and in the government and other things. The other point, other research that I studied for these presentations is from Oxford. Oxford have amazing studies about this, and I observed one specific study that Oxford shared about the artificial intelligence ethics lab structure and accountability. And one point of this study share that the structural challenge that 78% of the companies identify inadequate organizational structure as primary risk factor to prevent ethical artificial intelligence. How is important now to share? Because due to the fact that we need to create a program, like a compliance program, a risk program, risk assessment, we need to create a specific program for from artificial intelligence implementation. Otherwise, we have at the same time the framework gap. 32% of the organizations have established internal frameworks for technological responsibility, leaving the majority without clear accountability mechanisms. When you observe 32% is not an amazing number when you compare the numbers of the companies that we start to use the artificial intelligence. Because of this, we need to observe this. When you observe World Economic Forum, for instance, the first risk from World Economic Forum is about the transformation, digital front transformation. We need to take care. You need to create a rules for use to mitigate of the risks. This is a part of the global risks report from World Economic Forum about the subject in this topic. And the third part and the third point from Oxford study is the trust dividend. The companies with dedicated artificial intelligence ethics boards and chief artificial intelligence risk officers experience around 25% to increase stakeholder confidence in the regulatory trust. In this part is very important to share. You create more confidence when you have a committee or a specific person responsible for this. In my opinion, in my experience, it's not necessarily maybe I exist a chief AI risk officer. However, if you have got a specific area like in compliance risk responsible for this, you're creating the same level stakeholder confidence in a regulatory trust inside of your company or in your organization. The other point that I would like to share, the same time about this topic as the ESG performance as well, about data impact and value creation. This is interesting when you use artificial intelligence for ESG. ESG report is 68% of the ESG reporting with artificial intelligence. The most important companies around 250 largest company now publish ESG reports, leverage AI and big data analytics in these reports. This is important for to comprehensive stakeholder disclosure. Around 35 trillions of the dollars ESG access is important now to demonstrate the integration of sustainability and investment structures. And when you use AI, you reduce around 20% of they can reduce carbon emission report errors by up to 25% to improve data quality and stakeholder trust in a corporative sustainability plans. This part is very important. How much when you use artificial intelligence will improve the quality data from ESG and to mitigate of the risks of the error for to share data in this case. Have a lot of studies about this. The other part is only to share about this when you observe, when you use AI, the financial transformation, the market grow a trajectory when you have a lot of applications about this in sustainability finance especially. The project for the future is to reach around 1.39 trillions of the dollars by 2029, reflecting the financial sectors recognize that the technology from enable ESG analysis provides a competitive advantage, and especially when you use AI for this improve this process and data as well. The other point is important to know how much you improve now the mindset that to continue to improvement mindset for use the artificial intelligence and have this assistant here I share with you that how much is important to use this for you observe, analyze, adapt, and you create a scale, the platform for to use inside of the company, the SG in the artificial intelligence, and you implement to improve of the culture inside of the company as well when you create this type of the level, the analysis process about the artificial intelligence capabilities, to create new innovative process, the new mindset process inside of the companies. I would like to finish, especially I have probably 5 minutes here to finish my presentation. I would like to share about the global benchmarks, ESG integration performance when you use artificial intelligence as well. Like OECD, McKinsey, and World Economic Forum research, 90% of G20 countries adopt ESG framework. The major economies have integrated ESG frameworks into corporate governance requirements, establish a sustainability regulatory, no header, the voluntary initiative 25% high return on assets when you integrate the ESG governance and demonstrate a superior financial performance measure in return the assets according to McKinsey research. The other point, 35% of the lower reputational risks. Organization with a strong ESG practice experiences the growth of their favor reputation and mitigation insights of this and stakeholder conflicts. And 75% report a better talent performance when you have the company, ESG companies attract superior talent in higher innovation and experience improvement of the ESG governments. This data is a covered data from ESG, McKinsey to understand how much is important this topic, ESG with integration, the performance as well. I share with the roadmap the strategy implementation for foundation building from ESG AI principles in 2025 from 2026 and now 2030. You have a cognitive governance when you have much more implementation in the future, the autonomous AI governance, establish a trusted capital reporting frameworks with quality of data, more efficiency and effective process inside the company. In the principle, create a new culture for the use the correct way the artificial intelligence inside of the companies. The other part we have in 2027 from to 2029, the operation integration for the AI, the process automated GRC monitoring, integrated the sustainability metrics, and you improve the quality of the process and the quality of the data inside of the company to create a competitive advantage in this case here. And for my last 2 minutes, I would like to share how much the leadership imperative in this case for transformation inside the company. AI is a strategy. Ethics is a foundation for these strategies to use AI in your daily basis in your process. You need to create a cultural advantage inside of the company. However, you need to prepare your organization for this, to understand of the impact, to mitigate the risk, to create a robust and important program for this. Integration this value effort to converge ESG, corporate governance, risks and compliance, and AI creates a sustainability value inside of the company to create more results, to understand how it is impacting the KPI for this and other things. With this, the true leadership now, I share with you in the AI era, and demands the integration of the innovation, responsibility, efficiency, empathy, and profit with purpose. This is an important point. However, we need to prepare for the future and with base for this. I share a little bit with you a lot of the references that I use it for to create this a presentation here, only 20 minutes. However, I would like to share about how much this topic is important globally. And in my vision, in my opinion, I believe that when we use AI, it's important to use AI, not only use AI, we need to use AI with the knowledge from humans as well, the intelligence for human. And you have got with this the more efficiency when you use AI in this form. I would like to talk thank you and for this opportunity. I'm totally available to continue this discussion if you'd like to talk with me more or another moment. And I share with me my LinkedIn as well. I'm totally available to discuss much more about this topic. However, I would like to share with you a little bit some important topics in numbers about this subject today. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Sergio, and all organization of this event today. It's an honor for me to stay here to share a little bit more about AI and corporate governance, compliance, and risks here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Juliana. It was very interesting, very, very interesting. If you would like to stay that the first session, so in the end we've got some Q&A, some questions and answers. If you don't mind,
Sure.
if you can stay.
Sure.
And I can see that even again, even in this context, AI is taking pretty much center stage. I would say, as we've had also in other presentations in the morning session. So right now we are having Serge Caron. Is Serge?
Thank you very much to invite me. I'm very glad to be part of this event. The days of the continuous improvement is super important for me. We're working in a Volvo Group since almost 20 years in different divisions. And today I would like to present topics that is very important for me is the lean diagnosis. So in Volvo, the lean, we call it VPS, is a short for Volvo Production System, but lean and VPS is the same. So when I say lean, it's about VPS, and when I say VPS, it's about lean. So it's the same. So we have implemented this this activity in order to support the plans, but also some functions and some department to take another steps. So I would like to share my experience with you, and of course at the end you can ask me some question if you want. Let me here it will be better. So maybe very few words about the Volvo Construction Equipment divisions. It's part of a Volvo Group, a Swedish company that date back from 1832. The mission of this company is driving prosperity through transport and infrastructure solutions. And the philosophy, I will come back on that later, is we build the world we want to live in. The brands in this division is mainly Volvo and Rockback, also main production in Sweden, also in Germany, France, but also in South Korea, US, Brazil, India, and China. The result you can see there, a good result in operating income, more than 15,000 employees through the world, with a lot of diversity in this group, more than 85 different nationalities, and this diversity is really one of our assets. And our vision is to be the most desired and successful transport and infrastructure solution provider in the world. That's the short from these divisions. So we have established some years ago, just maybe just few years before the COVID, Volvo C philosophy. And as I said, is together we build the world we want to live in. So we learn a lot from this COVID time that we have to focus, of course, on our customer, but not only we have to take care of our employee, but we have also to take care of the society surrounding us, and of course the owners, because we have to deliver some result. If you want to be able to invest and be prepared for the future, we need to make some profits to enable to big investment needed, especially for the electromobility. So our approach to lean is focus on the Volvo C philosophy. That is the foundations for how we run our company. It's super important to have this philosophy because, you know, if you have this philosophy that guides us every day, that help us to decide, okay, do we take the right decisions? Do we work according to our philosophy? That's really something super important for us. And things, since we have defined this philosophy, I think we are very consistent in the way we do operations, in the way we do business, and in the direction we want to take. And VPS or Lean provides us a framework on how we work and help us to bring our philosophy to practice. So the philosophy is a bit something that is abstract, a bit something a bit maybe high level, and we need to have something that help us to put this philosophy into practice with some tools, with some methods, with some way of working. And this is about the VPS. So why we decided to go for a VPS diagnosis? First of all, we wanted to create a common understanding of the current situations. That's something we are struggling a lot in the past, that it was very difficult to have a common understanding what is the current situation when it's about the lean in all the plants, but also in all functions or department. We have different ways to evaluate. Most of the time was a stomach feeling, but not based on real fact and data. And this VPS diagnosis will help us definitively to have this common understanding. We also want to evaluate the VPS maturity. I will come back a bit later, but what that means, or lean maturity, what that means. That means, you know, when we have this lean journey, we have to start, of course, and we need to have the visions, wanted positions, and we go through different stage, different step. And it's very important for organizations to understand where we are, what we have done so far, and what will be the next step. And the way to evaluate this VPS maturity is a good, I would say, way to help the team to say, okay, we are not there yet, still a long journey ahead of us. And that's something that is super important. Very often, some people, some plans, some areas, some organizations believe, okay, we are at a very good level in lean. No need to make some extra efforts. That's not true. Most of the time, there's a long journey to go there. We also have to identify the competence that need to be developed within the entity. I'm mainly thinking about the lean competence. It's also a way to guide the plans or the department to define the priorities toward the wanted positions. This wanted position is defined, and of course, there's different way to go to these wanted positions. And also, of course, the shortest is the better. But we have to take care about the environment, the context, and we have to define some priorities. And it's a way to define those priorities. And finally, to connect the three principles of the philosophy that are the flow, continuous improvement, perform, and develop to the reality. As I told you, a philosophy is a bit something high level, a bit sometimes abstract, and to connect to this three principles of the philosophy will help the organization, the site, and the department to define their way. So, high-level roadmap of VPS diagnosis. So, first of all, we have to start with the introductions. What that means, introductions. I think we thought that's just launching this VPS diagnosis without explanations, that can be a bit painful for the people, or that can be also unclear, or at least, how can I say, not obvious that we have to do this exercise. So it's important that we have to create these discussions with the people to create the awareness, what the VPS diagnosis will bring to you. Once we have done these discussions, these explanations, and people understand what the VPS diagnosis is, then we can run the VPS diagnosis. After that, we can have a dialogue around that. What is the learning? What are the learnings, about the VPS diagnosis? What do we have to change? What do we have to adapt? And of course, we have to do some actions to maybe adapt a little bit, to change our approach, our working, and to have regular follow-up. And this is a kind of a cycle. And this cycle lasts more or less 6 months. That means every 6 months we have to do another VPS diagnosis, and then another dialogue, and then another actions, and then continue to have a follow-up. So it's a kind of endless process in order to achieve what we call the wanted positions. So I will go maybe a little bit deeper in the VPS diagnosis as such. So 4 weeks before, with the site management team and the VPS coach, we have this site anchoring dialogue, is what I explained you before. We explain the purpose of the VPS diagnosis. We explain what will be the benefits for the people, for the plans, and we explain more or less also the way we can do this exercise. Once we have done that, we have more or less 1 week before, we decide with the same people, site management team and the VPS coach, where we want to do this exercise. That means this VPS diagnosis is not something we can do in all the plans, in all the department is too much. So we have to focus on some area, and the site know their plant or their organizations very well. So they have to decide to focus on one area, and this should be decided together 1 week before. Why 1 week before? Because there will be no preparations for this VPS diagnosis. There's no kind of big, I would say, window dressing, a lot of preparations to show the best of the plans in front of the people that will do the VPS analysis. No, just share what we are doing without any unhidden things. Just be transparent and be honest. After that, we have this VPS diagnosis. Right now, it's between 2 and 3 days. It depends on the size of the plant. So the day one, basically, we do some the site management interviews, and more or less in the morning of the day one. In the afternoon, we start to do the same with to interview the managers and also the team, kind of interviews and evaluations. Continue this exercise on day 2, and after that, we have this summary all together. That means with the site management team, the coach, VPS, but also all the plant stakeholders, basically all the people we have met during this diagnosis. And you can see in this picture that is very on the shop floor. Of course, could be in an office if we're talking about some departments, some support functions, of course. But we should be very close to the people, able to talk, to share, to ask questions, also to get some explanation on the shop floor, maybe also to draw some flow, to have the same understanding. It's a very open discussions, just not to be I would say not to share the best of what we can do, just to share the reality, the good things, but also the bad things, what is running well, but also what is not running so well. So it's super important to be very open and transparent. And then after that, during the summary, we gather all the people around the kind of a flip chart, and we decide, or say they decide, what are the main learning from these observations, from these interviews. And I think the major, I would say, priorities come from the team, not from the people doing the VPS diagnosis. It's a kind of a eye opener. It's a kind of a awareness. People see the plans in a different view through the questions from the assessor. Of course, it's not the end of this exercise. As I told you, weeks after, the site management team and also the VPS coach, but also the stakeholder, have to update the roadmap based on what they have learned during these 2 days, what they have defined as the priorities. They have to update their roadmap, maybe introduce some change, maybe do some adaptations, or maybe sometimes could drastically change the directions. And also, as I told you, this is a 6 months cycle. That means we don't have to wait 6 months before to see the result. We need to have regular, we say follow-up, and the idea is to have a monthly follow-up during SBRM. SBRM is a short from a site business review meeting that the plant have on a monthly basis with the head of operations. And this is a perfect, I would say, meeting to discuss about the follow-up and to follow up to discuss about the track. Are we on track? Do we have some issues? What support do we need, or what kind of advice we can get from the head of? That is more or less the cycle. As I told you, it's a 6 months cycle. Every 6 months we do the same exercise. That means we redo a VPS diagnosis. Of course, we have to see if we have done some significant change, some significant improvement, and continue to focus on some area, could be the same or could be different, and maybe have a slight adjustment about the roadmap, but also, as I told you from the start, focus on the lean competence. What are the lean competence that need to be developed? What need to be reinforced in this journey? So we're talking about these criteria for the diagnosis. We are not there to tell to the plant, you are at this level, you have this rate, this ranking. No, it's just to explain you this, we call it maturity curve. That's something we meet very often in a lean journey. That means we have different steps, and most of the time, when we start without any lean system, without a production system, we are very unstable. We have a lot of variance. It's very difficult to stabilize the situations. And then gradually, by implementing the a production system, we can reduce the instability. And the idea is to go to a very stable process. Of course, we will always have instability in operations, but this instability should be limited. And the idea is, once we have stabilized the situations, to make some improvement by implementing the continuous improvement, involving people, and have, I would say, a regular routine that's working every day, whatever the situation is, in any situations, in any area for everyone. And the idea is to achieve a high-performing level. It's a goal. It's a true north. I think maybe something we will never achieve, but it's the direction where I want to go. So this is more or less the different 6 level over lean maturity curve. Still a few minutes. So what are the results of this exercise? First of all, is to speak the same language within the organizations, and to have the same understanding is super interesting. When you do this exercise, you start with the interview of the managers of the plant, and you have this discussion with the leaders, and then we have some discussion with the people working on the shop floor, and we can see some discrepancy between what the manager thinks, but what the people on the shop floor live every day on the shop floor, and there's a gap. And by doing this exercise involving everyone, we can have the same understanding, and we can understand the situation maybe in a different way. Based on that, we can align on the priorities. Of course, we should define together what are the main priorities. We can't solve everything. We should stick on some few priorities, and of course, stick to that priorities, not changing the priorities every day. We can update the site or the department roadmap. And again, this is something super important in this diagnosis. This is not a way to compete between the plants. at the end of this VPS diagnosis, there's no rating, no ranking. It's just something that is valuable for the plant itself, not something to share with the other plants. And it's very important because I see more and more a kind of evaluation, some assessment, and at the end you get a ticket, you get a medal, you get a ranking, and that's create a lot of competitions. Sometimes competition is good, but most of the time competition is not super good because we want to be better than the others, and then to be better, sometimes we do things that are not relevant. I think we are almost at the end. Yes, I would like to thank you. I don't know if we have time for question right now, or do we have to wait at the end of the day?
Yes, Serge, if you don't mind, let's wait until the next speaker has finished.
Of course.
If you can, if you have got the time to stay with us.
Of course, I will.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was a bit quick, but my target is to go through this presentation in 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
So now we've got the next guest is Fernanda Nan from Uruguay. Fernanda, yes, I can see you. Hello. Serge, if you
Hello,
could just...
how are you?
Hello, thank you very much. How are you?
Fine, thank you very
Fine.
much. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much for joining us. So you are a professor of global sustainability business at the University of Montevideo.
Yes, it is. I am not seeing all of you, so I am quite, sad for that because I am just starting with the projections. Yes, I am really thankful and proud for the invitation. It has been a really pleasure to join and even to listen to the previous outstanding panelists. So I have learned a lot.
Thank you. So for us, you can start whenever you are ready.
Yes. When we were thinking about what the topic gives to the presentation, recently in the frame of the Alliance for Integrity, LATAM Integrity Week at the Sherman Chamber of Commerce in Buenos Aires, I have prepared a panel that I called Ethics Dilemmas in the Energy Transition. Yes, because, I understand that energy is the second key industry where we really need to take care about compliance and ethics, just because it's the power to move the world. Yes, we all need energy, and at the same time, it's what manages our economy. The internal product, brute gross product internal of each country, it is directly correlated with the energy. And in a way, I came from Uruguay, a country where the 90% of the energy came from renewable energies. Yes. But to be honest, our energy is extremely expensive, but it's not due to the fault of renewable energy. It's due to the system, okay? Because we need to import oil and gas, and all the system make the cost of energy really expensive, saying that Uruguay is one of the expensive countries in Latin America. It's expensive to live here, and there is a not so good correlation between the income, salary, and the level of life. So I put it into the floor. I prepared the panel where I have invited 11 key speakers from 6 countries in Latin America, where we were with a keynote speaker, a lawyer specialized, a dean in a university from Chile, where he specialized in free competence in electric markets, and where we were talking about until which point really is better to have certain regulations from the states in a key industry as it is the energy. Then we have another panel with we debate about the ethic dilemmas in the transition of energy, where it was represented by oil and gas industries from Colombia and Brazil, renewable energies, electrical energy, that was the state from Uruguay. The UTE facility is the company that creates more incomes for the whole country. And then also companies from hydrogen with presence from Germany with a strong presence in Uruguay. And then the biggest electrical ferry that's in the world that is going to be received in the upcoming month in January, just to go into the Rio de la Plata between Uruguay and Argentina. So we were with the whole board, yes, of energy, the basic one, and also with the hydroelectric, which is a birational hydroelectric between Argentina, Uruguay, and of course, also we were putting into the floor the issue of Brazil and Paraguay, where their own requests of hydroelectric energy. So the scope was quite wide. And then we go directly into the practice, and we saw how to go into the theoretical and go into the practice, and how to implement and to manage the risk of assessment in the management, specifically during the energy transitions in terms of ethics and compliance. So that's just to give you an introduction how we are dealing with the energy transition, but with a key perspective in the ethics dilemma in Latin America. And also to context the situation is that now in Uruguay, we are exploring in the sea, as Uruguay is connected decades ago, it was connected with Nigeria, Africa. Then they have separated, but it was connected. Many studies, specifically from the state of Uruguay, in connection with YPF from Argentina and with a French company, since years ago, they have done some studies when they get to know that there is a probability of find oil and gas in the Sea of Uruguay. So now they're planning to start to do the exploration of those activities. So saying that, we can put an Uruguay in a key stage of energy, okay? Before, we were the first country to do the first transition from scratch. We started with renewable energy. We are a role mate model in the world, but we have done it because we have to import oil and gas, and there was no other option to take the benefits of our oil, of our sun, wind, and water due to the hydraulics. But in a way, now we are seeing alternatives together with the development of batteries, and due to that, we are receiving the biggest electric ferry in the world here in Uruguay to connect Argentina. That is going to be in a company that is called Buquebus, where I am providing certain compliance services. And then we are going to introduce you why Uruguay. Why Uruguay was a role model in energy, in renewable energy. Because Uruguay is a country between two biggest, Argentina and Brazil, that we always defend, protect ourselves, distinguish due to our rule of law and our soft law. That means our respect to institutions and to human rights, and a fiscal facility, yes. And also, we are the first country in the world to create an sovereignty bonds vinculate with our environmental performance. And also we count with a transversal support with all the governments, all the institutions. And there is a policy of energy in Uruguay that goes pass against the different political decisions. It is a transversal energy policy that doesn't matter who is the president, who is the government, the colors, the energy policy goes beyond those changes. Due to that, here we have some key projects that we are receiving in Uruguay in terms of hydrogen, some of them in best stages. I'm going fast because time runs, but then I will stay here and you can just do the questions that you and go deeper. Now, here we have the map with all the projects in connection with hydrogen. There I am with my daughter because I used to be also compliance officer for ANCAP. ANCAP is the biggest oil and gas and cement utility from the state in Uruguay. So that is the boat that also manage all that well in connection with energy. And then topics that arise in any table, and I think that is about citizens' participation. It's about the water to produce hydrogen. I'm a member of diverse groups of studies about that. Uruguay is doing an EAE, environmental impact assessment, specifically from the new industry of hydrogen. Here we have the projection. Yes, if you compare what is going to be demand for water in terms of hydrogen and with other industries, there is quite under control the percent of all those issues, but it is a key topic because we were with some scarcity years ago in terms of water, so it is a topic of concern. And we have many scientifics studying that, specifically from the engineering university from Uruguay. Then we have, I have been done, maybe will be better if I show you that, and then we go up. Together with Argentinian consultants, I have prepared a study from the GIS where we were doing a projection study of the potential use and the demand of hydrogens and its derivatives, derivados, P2X. And the industries that will demand more, that was specifically for Argentina, was SAF, Sustainability Aviation Fuels, that was specifically for aviation, methanol. Methanol is for the marine and for heavy transportation, and then fertilizers for the agriculture industry, which is key for Uruguay and also key from Brazil, one of the biggest industry and demander of fertilizers. Here there is a gap, yes, between hydrogens and power-to-X methanol, specifically for the boats, yes. And then because they requires a lot investment, and that is the point. All those projects demands plenty of investment, and we need off-takers, and the majority of them came from USA and European Union. And one way to comply with them is through the BID, IDB Bank, and the World Bank. And one of the performance is to show that we comply with Ecuador principles. And then we have the example of IFC, that is the private sector from the World Bank, International Financial Corporations, and 8 principles to comply with them.
Fernanda, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry. Just wanted to say that if you could just summarize this, we've got a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes, if you don't mind.
Perfect. So an idea just to that's where goes compliance is we have specifically the Escazú principle that Uruguay and the majority of Latin countries have subscribed about citizens' participation. And then when we go into compliance and industry, here we have the way to comply with that from a governance perspective and going down with compliance and ESG, environmental social governance systems, yes? So we have the environmental and social standards, the health and safety, the code of conduct internally and for our third party, specifically when we are with EPC, with contracts. Here we have all the methodology to apply, yes. And then specifically when we think in Chile, in Mexico, how to deal with vulnerable communities and how to explain the project and to get their own acceptance and participation and try to do cooperative with them, as I have done with the Wiwa, the indigenous of the Nevada mountains range from Santa Marta in La Guajira Sur. Yes, we were the first, when I was in Sovitech, the first company to create and previous consult with those indigenous communities. And then it goes together, yes, between the local regulations and the regulation that you want to implement in order to receive the loans, the money from the international banks, where they take into account the IFC performance standards, and always thinking that sustainability growth is only possible if we go hands to hands with corporate governance and integrity. Here are the principles that about IFC that I was talking previously, how to implement an environmental social management system. Here in connection with the capture of green gas. Here, that was achieved in Uruguay. We achieved it in 2014. It was the first one in Latin America. How we capture the green gas and all those. And here is a system of United Nations, the road, how to get compromise. Yes. And just to conclude, I understand that the energy, it has been paid for all, and the corruption affects all at the same time. And here we have some issues that we have in the energy sector, the diversity of contractors, the problem of defraudations in the state, how to go into infrastructure and all those cases. For example, how to deal with the La Guajira, how to create collective actions, yes, before, as had already happened, that diverse renewable energy companies go ahead before doing that, go into Basso Institute, prepare collective actions, raise the hands, use whistleblowing channels, and start to go deeper before taking other kind of decisions, how to implement the risk map, and those how to deal with the green areas and the diverse process to create a strong due diligence system, and how we go and we define the conflict of interest in all the diverse process that were going on, and how to implement and how to create the policies and to deal with all. Here is how to implement diverse whistleblowing channels, yes, specifically with those kind of bosoms and with the channels and all those issues, and how to measure all that. Here are some examples, and that was what I was telling you about when it had already happened to me in Asia countries, where I have to use the high-level reporting mechanisms from energy issues. And then always take into account in our due diligence our extraterritoriality law and the spaghetti ball about diverse rules in the supply chain, specifically in infrastructure and all the issues. And I think I will hear some good practices that came from Uruguay and someone from Argentina that I wanted to share. Those are the public energy companies of Uruguay. And then when, of course, the construction chamber of Argentina, where I provided some ethical trainings, and with the customer office in Uruguay, then some good collective actions in connection with energy from diverse countries, and also in transnational corruption and diverse issues. Empresas activas active in anti-corruption and the truth of integrity in Colombia too. And here we have in Itapu, Binacional, we were talking previously, how they are working in terms of compliance and energy and so on. In Paraguay, they are working strong with a stamp of that.
Thank you for joining us. So good morning to you.
It's a pleasure.
So Silvana is the Grupo UNASEM, gerente corporativo de cumplimiento. You need to let us know what you are doing.
Yeah, okay.
Training.
Yes,
Thank
I'm working in compliance, in corporate compliance role for a whole group in Peru, Chile, United States, and Ecuador.
Okay, thank you.
May I share my...
Yes, yes, please. Yeah. You can go ahead. Yeah, you can start whenever you're ready. Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. It is okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Super.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lorenza and Sergio. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. It's a pleasure to join you today to reflect on our important driver of business success, good corporate governance. Everybody talks about good corporate governance, but this is such a difficult role when you have to face some things. And first of all, very important thing here is that it's a source of competitive advantage for every corporation. Today, I'm going to talk now good corporate governance, a source of competitive advantage that has become increasingly evident across the market, world, industries, which is very, very important. So in the context of increasing regulatory complexity, my predecessors presenters have talked about that, and growing demands of the society for coherence and ethical leadership, it is essential that all organizations and corporations, groups are governed with a shared purpose and good corporate governance. The question is how to connect ethic, integrities, and strategy so that compliance is not merely a matter of meeting legal requirements and instead becomes a driver of corporate value. Governance is no longer a mere compliance exercise, a set of documents, a legal checklist. It becomes a decisive factor that shapes how organizations create value, manage risks, and positions themselves in highly competitive and rapidly changing market. So we faced as compliance officer, as a corporation, to this reality. So over the next minutes, I would like to walk you through 4 central ideas. How the global environment has transformed expectations around governance to why good governance is strategic and is not a cost. It's an investment. 3, the specific mechanisms through which governance creates competitive advantage. some tools that we have been working is a work group in ISO, for example, which is a new ISO that we're working on in purpose corporation, working on that, why it is important, what are the principles which have to govern the whole organizations. And fourth, what organization can do to strengthen their governance and embed it into culture. If we don't talk about culture and foster it, we cannot talk about governance and good governance, compliance, integrity, ethics, and these kind of things, no? So how the global context matters and why governance matters, why good governance matters, no? To understand that why governance has evolved from a technical concept to a strategic imperative, we need to look at the context in which the corporation operate, no? The legislation, the market, the competition, for example, no? Today, companies face unprecedented level of complexities, as I said before, scrutinous and interdependence. Technology accelerates change, social expectations rise, markets react instantly. A single incident at a breach, a scandal, a conflict of interest can destroy trust accumulated over decades. So additionally, risks are now interconnected. A governance failure in one area often triggers consequences in other areas. For example, legal, financial, reputational, operational, and even resources, human resources. That is why we are talking about risks. The importance of risks and manage the risk in a corporation are very important, no? Because it's from the operational strategy to manage this and control that for how that impact the corporation. In this context, governance is what holds the organization together, aligns its purpose, and ensures decisions are made with accountability and foresight. There are, on the whole, four major forces, no, that we can talk about. These four forces that I would like to focus, and I have elaborated and I put in this presentation is, first of all, global emphasis on ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And governance now stands at the core of the ESG performance because it determines whether environment, E, and S, so social commitments are credible, measurable, and sustainable. Two, increasing regulatory expectations, especially related to transparency, anti-corruption, data protection, consumer protection, antitrust, and responsible business conduct. Regulator expects organizations to have mechanisms that are not only documented, but proven effective. Three, the growing power of interested parties. Employees become important, very important, because they are the talent that we wanted to preserve in our company. Communities, investors, suppliers, and consumers now hold organizations accountable through social media and public opinion. We're now talking about interested parties more than a stakeholder. We are not working only for the direct parties, but the indirect ones also, for the society, for the whole people, for the whole planet. They expect integrity, transparency, and consistency. And fourth, the accelerating pace of technological transformation. We have all faced this. We are talking about intelligence, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data protection, and resilience. So that is very important, and companies rely more on that digital ecosystem, governance that have to ensure these ethical things for these important new themes. So from compliance to strategy, governance as a strategic asset, let's move to this idea how good governance is not a cost, how it is an investment, as I said to you before. And more than that, it is a strategic asset. Historically, many organizations saw governance as something external, something imposed, but the organization that lead today, the ones that innovate, attracts the best people, the talent, and earn long-term trust, have understood that governance is a source of differentiation, a competitive advantage. Why? Because good governance brings clarity, it brings discipline, it brings accountability, which is different of responsibility, and that's it. It's like simple, but it's difficult at the same time when we are facing in a reality. And these qualities are essential in a world where uncertainty is a norm and where we don't know what we are going to face in the next years and the next moment. Let me highlight 3 strategic benefits. First of all, governance drives superior decision making. The whole, when decisions are made with clear rules, consistent principle, reliable information, the organization avoids improvisation. Good governance aligns decision with purpose, values, and long-term priorities. That's why we are now talking about this new ISO, which is named a purpose-driven organization guidance. Some guidance in order for corporation to do a good thing. And this is ISO 33011, so which is we are working on. The second, governance reduce uncertainty, surprises, transparency, clear risk management. We are the whole companies talk about risk, concerns, and strong controls reduce the likelihood of crisis. And when crisis occurs, they help the organization respond quickly. So when we are talking about crisis management, this is that it's important to talk about. And 3, governance enhances corporate reputation and trust. Trust, I have written something about that because trust is the most important thing for corporation and how this can act with the market and with the global context. Trust is difficult to build and incredibly easy to lose. As you know, governance builds trust by demonstrating that the organization behaves ethically, treats stakeholders with respect and honor its commitments. How governance create competitive advantage? There are some mechanisms to do that. For example, attracting investment and lowering the cost of capital. Investors today reward companies that show a strong corporate governance. For example, there are some indexes that the whole companies wanted to be pointed. For example, Dow Jones Index, which is one of the most important in the world to measure how good corporate governance are in the corporations. Why? Because governance reduce risks and concerns associated with commission of misconduct and crimes. We're always hearing about corruption, antitrust, and crimes around the world. Organizations with a solid governance frameworks have more predictable results, report information transparently, manage conflict of interest effectively, are less likely to face legal and regulatory sanctions and administrative ones, protect shareholder rights also, and retain, of course, talents. Consequently, Organizations that demonstrate robust corporate governance typically enjoy improved access to capital and benefit from reduced financial cost. In a sense, investors are willing to offer a premium to companies they consider reliable and trustworthy. So we as a company, when we wanted to access to a finance for the finance institution, for example, we have to prove that we have a very good corporate governance of a corporate integrity culture. So how do we strengthen strategy and long-term performance? Good governance ensures that board and management work with a long-term perspective. No, it's very, very important to anticipate risks and strategies and strengthen business continuity, enable faster and more effective crisis response, upwards responsible innovation and digital transformation, no? Set ethical boundaries, as I said to you before. This is very, very important, and I don't know why. What should the governance organization should do to complete the whole thing? They have to strengthen their role and effectively of the board build and sustain a cultural integrity, and also invest in data protection and cybersecurity, improve transparency, but to culture, the culture of integrity policies are essential because it controls the discretion. Good corporate governance is not simply about compliance with laws, creating committees, or writing policies. It is about how organizations make decisions, how they lead people, how they manage risk, how they build trust. Compliance is a pathetic tool. In some corporations, compliance is still seen as a bureaucratic checklist, as I told you before. However, compliance and by extension, good corporate governance should be viewed as a competitive advantage, as a new value, a differentiation factor that demonstrates integrity. Transparency, prevention, and reputation as pillar for corporate sustainability. Today, and I wanted to finish with this, today transparency within corporation is vital for building trust among their stakeholders and interested parties. Transparency is not optional. This is evidenced by various cases of corporations that have become publicly known. Action is essential in corporation, especially to build culture of integrity. Integrity as a foundation for attracting not only investment, but investors, partners, and clients. Implementing robust crime prevention policy delivers legal certainty and significantly bolsters the confidence of investors and stakeholders. So good corporate governance is not just a competitive advantage, it is a foundation for sustainable success. Thank you very much.
Improving resilience is a biological skill. It can be trained, and there are specific neural mechanisms behind it. It's not like a vague thing. So input is challenges, which become stressors. They're processed in the part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And the output from that is a good thing, resilience, or a bad thing, burnout. So resilience is a much used word. It's used inappropriately. This one's from Friday. It's from the OECD, no offense to the colleagues from OECD, and Eurostat and WHO. It's their report on the health system in Italy. And they mention resilience in that applied to the system. I'm going to apply it to people who make up the systems and companies, organizations. So resiliency, if you get a bigger anterior mid-cingulate cortex, is linked and associated and causative of a long life. And longevity is another buzzword that we like to use, but longevity in its own is not a big thing unless you live well. And most people spend the 20 more years that we've been dreaming of as 10 good years and 10 bad years. So the ideal thing is to have 20 good years. And this AMCC, this area in the brain, is a secret to that. So it gives us a long life and a better life. But more sadly, if you lose resilience earlier, then it can be a loss of life as well. And the leading cause of death in adolescents from 15 to 24 years old is suicide. So it's a good thing for us, it's good for our companies, and it's good for our children. So what does it equivalent to? We think of a substance of material. Resilience is not a buzzword, it's a calculation, where you can deform a material and it goes back to its previous state. If you go beyond that point and you deform the material, that's a yield point. With humans, with us, when you stress a person or challenge a person to a certain point, they can go past that point and then it becomes burnout. We'll go into the chemistry of that in a few seconds. So resilient brain is when it's challenged with new tasks, new things, new projects. And when you do accomplish or start working on a project, you get a dopamine burst, which is a reward. If you have lots of effort with high dopamine, then we feel very good. High effort and you exhaust your dopamine and get no reward internally, externally, that's when you go into a low energy balance. And high effort, low dopamine, and that drifts into burnout. So how can we restore resilience and defend resilience and grow resilience? And there are three biological levels. There's the hardware, the software, operating system. The hardware is a spine, and that's the part that connects the body and the brain and the body. Then there's the operating system, which is the autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetics and the sympathetics. And the software is the networks contained in the anterior mid cingulate cortex of the brain. Let's go through one part at a time. Hardware, the spine. Got one here, but you can't see it anyway. The spine is not just a bunch of bones, one above the other. It's a neural switchboard. It's a dynamic communicating thing. And if you keep it curved forwards, then the body and the brain go into a state of low-grade threat or alarm. And you lose focus in the frontal cortex of your brain. Whereas if you have good spinal hygiene, you get neural clarity and improved focus. It's a win-win all the time. The software is a seat of will, as it's called, and it's in your in the middle part of your brain. I have a brain here, which I don't you can see though, unfortunately, and it sits right in the middle of the medial wall. And building it will give you willpower, and it comes with things you don't like changing nappies in the middle of the night, voluntary friction, micro friction, exercise or doing hard things like learning a language. And the benefits are performance, a larger anterior mid cingulate cortex, increased tenacity, and more importantly, you expand your elastic limit of your physiology, which pushes burnout further away. The operating system, how can we improve that? There are many ways. I'll go through 5 or 6 today, so you can take things home and apply them while you're listening to me and the other speakers in the rest of the day. So one thing is called a physiological sigh. It's a deep breath. Take a deep breath, and then as you get to full pair of lungs, you breathe in again a bit more, and that opens the alveoli in your lungs, and it improves oxygen exchange. And you breathe out through your mouth. A long, slow breath, counting to 1,000, 2,000, to 8,000, to 10,000 even. And that resets in a moment your state. It decreases your heart rate. That's because of a mechanical pressure on the heart. It increases your heart rate variability, which sounds like a bad thing, but it's a good thing. It increases your heart's ability to adapt to an upcoming stress if there is one. And it puts you in a calm state of mind. It's great to do before you go into a higher power meeting. And it's also good to come out of a higher power meeting, have to speak to kids or the wife or husband or whatever it may be, or co-workers. So the implementation of the 3 areas, one is trainer software. So doing boring things like cardio running is good for you from a cardio point of view, but the more boring it is, the better it is for your anterior mid-cingulate cortex, paradoxically. That's a good thing. It increases your tenacity and your focus. Clearing the hardware, taking care of your spine, like you said, standing up every hour for 2 or 3 minutes, stretching if you can make a protocol with your chiropractor, and getting your spine adjusted by a chiropractor as well is good for your spine, your brain, and your long-term tenacity. That clears the neural signal and communication. And the third thing, like I said before, the physiological side is a great way to gate your stress and calm down when things are getting hot. The final synthesis, your spinal health is a foundation of your brain and neural resilience. You can push yourself to almost a burnout through high effort, but if you take care of your diet, your sleep, and the 3 hacks that I gave you today about breathing deeply and keeping your spine straight and challenging yourself, then you can defend your tenacity, which is good for you as a worker, good for your co-workers if you spread it in the company, and good for your family when you go home and tell everyone home what you've been doing as well. As far as the companies go, today I've spoken just about one aspect of brain health. There are many, many aspects, and the health systems are moving towards a brain-based paradigm. The WHO is on this. They've created a program called Workplace Health Promotion, where they encourage companies to adhere to this protocol and to promote, not just to avoid accidents and illness at work, but to promote health amongst your workers. They can get a culture of health and take it home and spread it in the community. Because health systems are not working, they're failing. And companies, on the other hand, are growing. If you look at the Dow Jones for the last 120 years, it's always grown. So companies are doing something right, and maybe they can help with health systems too. So thank you for your attention. If there's any questions, I'll come back when there's a panel later.
Thank you, Baiju. Thank you very much. I was sitting straight actually when you talked about spine. I just think it was just an automatic reflex. So thank you very much. Let's move on to our last panelist. So is Michael Hemling. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
I hope I'm pronouncing correctly your name.
That's okay. That's fine.
Okay, thank you. So, Michael, you are working for the UN World Food Programme in Italy, and you are the Chief Donor Reporting and Contribution Accounting. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So please, thank you for joining us today, and please you can start with your presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, and I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
On there. Good. Good. No, thanks so much for inviting me to this day, and I'm mindful that I'm towards the end of the day, so I try to keep it as light as possible. But what I would like to talk about today a little bit, also in the context of continuous improvement, how are we navigating as the World Food Programme, and how is my team navigating this shift, this seismic shift from scarcity to really focusing on continuous focusing teams on excellence and on strength. And I want to start off a little bit with a context in terms of like why I'm talking about this and what the current situation is in the World Food Programme, but also across the entire UN. And as a matter of fact, in the entire humanitarian space. I mean, we've seen a sharp decline this year in terms of contributions everywhere. It produced tremendous challenges to the entire humanitarian space in terms of our ability to deliver to the most vulnerable people. And it has not only reduced the ability to deliver, but it has also forced a lot of UN organizations to change their structures and to readjust to this new funding level. What basically this has translated in us in WFP, but you see this across the entire UN, that the operations have been scaling down. Country offices are reducing their activities to support the most vulnerable. We have been reducing our workforce in WFP, I think at the highest level that we've ever seen, and with thousands of staff are scheduled to leave by the end of this year. And we're having to adapt to the new realities and really finding ways forward moving into 2026. A little bit of background in terms of what my team does, because it kind of sets the tone for the way forward in some of the strategies that I want to highlight. Our team is very data driven. I mean, these are all the technical experts which are embracing data analysis. What has been a few years ago very manual is now done by robotic process automation, and we have a lot of robotic assistants in extracting, manipulating, building, formatting data for reporting, for donor reporting, and for different outputs requested by donors. But it certainly is a team which is really driven by accuracy and by meeting deadlines for donors, or as it is required by our agreements in contribution agreements with donors. So it's really about that excellence. And certainly in that context that I've just presented, the question for me then always has been, how are we maintaining that level of excellence? How are we maintaining the structure in the team within that changing organization? And what can a leader do to move this forward? I tried also to present some of the strategies here, which might be interesting, not only to people who are working in the humanitarian space, but also for people who are working in the private sector. Before I joined the UN, I worked for 10 years in the private sector. So hopefully some of these strategies will be useful for all colleagues and for all people who are here on the call. For me, one of the things, and when we start seeing this change beginning of the year, and certainly not only the development that we've seen in the US and the changes in the government there, but it's across the board with a lot of different countries are adjusting their aid budgets, and there was really this level of uncertainty. And what I then in the beginning of the year really was focusing on, and there was a famous quote from Napoleon, and saying is that as a leader, the role is to paint the reality, but also then to give her hope. And I was really trying to keep the team informed in terms of what is going on, how are we adjusting to this new reality, managing information and despite the uncertainty, but also then try to pair this a little bit with the hope in terms of like where are we moving as a team, and then what is really our core focus. And I really tried to focus the team on not on the things that we cannot control or the things which are in our environment, but really what are the things that we can do to support this change, what we can do to really improve on the work that we're doing. And I think that the theme of your day is really continuous improvement, not only like one-time improvement, but really moving forward in slow steps, but in consistent steps as we move forward. Certainly, for me, it was also important then to engage the staff. It's not like a top-down. I think the days of command control are over. It's really about bringing the team together and then really trying to find ways of moving forward as a team, but also in listening to the team, listening to the concerns, and incorporating feedback. I mean, one of my leadership philosophies is really that diversity increases the intelligence of a group, and it's really about how are we making sure that everybody in the team can bring their opinion into the conversation. There's some focus areas which I then looked at and which I feel will be relevant in the years to come. And I think there were a number of speakers also today which focused on a topic, which is artificial intelligence. And certainly I think that's a topic which every company and every organization, I think, is currently trying to explore. Well, what will be our role into that? I think there's a lot of been written about right now in the social media. There's a lot of different opinions about all of this. But for me, it's really about empowering the team and building fluency. I think there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of different environments. We in the World Food Programme, we are deploying a co-pilot right now in our organization. But it's really about then putting that into the context of your own organization and seeing really what are you actually improving and what are you actually changing. So for me right now in that stage in 2025 and then going into 2026, it's really about building fluency, because it's not just about empowering a few people, but it's really empowering the entire team and making sure that everybody is on the same level of knowledge, the same level of understanding. We have built internal working groups where we sharing knowledge, we're sharing relevance to our work. And again, as I mentioned in the very beginning, this is a team which is really embracing analysis, embracing data. So I think they're very well positioned to really also embrace this new platforms, this new technology in the scope of our work. The second thing, which for me also then became very relevant, and it kind of links into what my previous colleague he was just talking about in terms of some of the elements of wellness. But I think any type of wellness has as a foundation a safe space and a safe environment for everybody to speak up. I think particularly in times when there is uncertainty, in times when there is a lot of change, people are concerned or afraid to really talk up, and because they don't know what the consequences of this will be going forward. And really focus right now primarily on building an environment where everybody feels that their opinion matters. There's no wrong opinion. There is input into the process, and creating this space of safety so that we can really have an open dialogue and we can really make sure that we're moving forward in this time together as a team. For me is then also, and again, I'm very passionate when it comes to wellness personally, but I'm trying to also then translate that into the team, is looking at mental health as a superpower. I think we're a lot of times in organizations looking at mental issues or mental problems as something that needs to be fixed outside of the work environment. We need to go to a psychiatrist or need to see a counselor. But it's really just about shifting the problem. And what I really focused on is really this preventive part of really looking at the mental health, like how can we build resilience? How can we empower our staff to really navigate these changes? And I think the colleagues like myself, I'm now over 18 years in WFP, they're much more comfortable with these changes because we've seen a lot of periods, these ups and downs in shrinking funding and expanding funding. Whereas young colleagues, which are now coming into the workforce, for them it's really frightening to see like what will my future look like, what will my career look like. So it's really about helping them to become more adaptive to change, helping them to navigate resilience or building resilience in their own environment. And it certainly will benefit the organizations. When we look at mental health as something positive, something that we're empowering our staff rather than shifting the problem somewhere else. And going forward for me, I think the important thing is that I can also then use my experience as a leader to encourage particularly young people coming into the workforce. I'm having about 9-10 young people who are just starting with WFP as part of WFP's mentoring program. I'm really trying to give them the assurance that how to navigate their career, how to navigate change, how to improve themselves step by step continuously in this environment. And it's certainly rewarding, I think, for both sides. I mean, I'm learning a lot about challenges that young colleagues are facing, while at the same time, I can give back from my experience. Another big point for me is, and it's something which in particular in times of uncertainty and change you don't see often, is really fostering collaboration. I think when you see a lot of change, you see a lot of teams are more focusing on themselves, more focusing on prioritizing their own resources, but that collaboration aspect is really left outside. Whereas I'm trying right now to do the opposite. I'm encouraging our team to really go out and to really work together with other teams, collaborate with other teams for the benefit of WFP. And because we are a very collaborative team, I mean, in order to build a financial report, I think you need a lot of input from different teams. So we're well positioned to really proactively collaborate and bring other teams into this change process. But also then one of the points I want to mention here is also then not only look at the workplace and to look at the outputs and the tasks of a team, but also look at the social connections, like how can team members connect each other maybe outside of the workspace, like how can they learn from each other, how can they learn about their own challenges in terms of balancing their personal priorities with their work priorities. So that social connection, I think, particularly in times of change, is really helping to build resilience and really helping to navigate this change process. So these are some of the strategies that I wanted to mention, that I wanted to highlight here in this talk. I'm very happy to continue that conversation. I have here my email address. I'm normally quite active on LinkedIn, so if you want to reach out to me, as my profile is here. And certainly, Sergio, Lorenza, I'm open to any questions or any comments from that side. That's it from my side, and I'll stop here.